Good afternoon and welcome to the April 24, 2024 City Council Work Session and Urban Renewal Agency meeting. Thank you for joining us in this virtual meeting format. For work sessions like this one, where there is no opportunity for public comment, those wishing to access the meeting can do so by watching the live stream available on our website, the broadcast on Comcast Channel 21, or by calling into one of the phone numbers listed for this meeting on the public webcast and meeting materials web page. And I thank you again for joining us. And with that, I call the April 24th meeting of the Urban Renewal Agency to order, and I will turn it over to our city manager.
I think in this context, I'm actually your director, but that's fine. The topic is the same and my words will be the same. Thank you so much. Our first topic today is actually to talk about the steam plant, which I know is a huge community interest. And I'm joined by our community development director, Will Dowdy, who's going to lead us through a presentation.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Mayor and Agency Board. I will share my screen. Looks like we have that part in place, and I will begin now. Good afternoon again. I'm Will Dowdy, your Community Development Director. I'm quite excited to be here with you today to talk about the steam plant redevelopment project. I know that you are all quite familiar with this project and its location here at the southern end of the downtown riverfront site. And most of the community knows it well. In fact, this weekend we'll have thousands of locals and guests running past it at mile 25 of the Eugene Marathon. What may not be as familiar to some people watching is the process that you, the agency board, have gone through to redevelop this property. The agency board acquired this property with the intention of preserving and repurposing this historic structure, to which end you provided direction to launch an RFQ process to find a development team capable of conceiving a big vision and making it a reality. Through this process, you selected a team comprised of community members with extensive experience, led by DeChase Mixis in 2018. As we were coming out of the pandemic in 2022, you approved deal points for the project. I'm here today with a couple of revised deal points for you to consider. What's the rationale for revising the deal points? What has changed between your action in 2022 and today? First, at that earlier work session, the project was facing a $5.6 million gap, and we were seriously pursuing funds from the state legislature. In fact, the agency board at that time was specific that no further city or agency funds would be used to fill the gap. This came during a time when the city was considering budget reductions and the Urban Renewal District had less than $2 million of unallocated funds, not nearly enough to make up that difference. Unfortunately, the legislature did not award state funds to the project. Second, the last few years have been challenging ones for construction, and the complicated repurposing of historic riverfront buildings has been no exception. I'll come back to this topic of construction costs in a little bit. Third, the Urban Renewal District now has significantly more financial capacity than previously, thanks to the amendment passed by you as City Council in January. Three other factors have made us prioritize this conversation. Number one, for a downtown neighborhood that has existed only in dreams and plans for 40 years, suddenly this site is alive. The first park users, as you know, started arriving a couple of years ago. The first residents moved into new housing units only a month ago. And the first office workers will be arriving quite soon with the opening of City Hall. Marketing materials will be out soon for the first retail space. The second phase of the park is about to begin construction. The second residential building is well underway. If you've spent any time over there, you know all that. So that's what's happening now. Despite all of this positive momentum, the steam plant building itself is suffering from mistreatment and is deteriorating. One of the values that the agency board established for this project is the historic preservation of a cultural monument. And without timely action, the project only gets more challenging. Lastly, we want to be responsive to you. As City Council, you passed the Urban Renewal Amendment in January, and you talked about this project during that process. The purpose of the amendment was to implement projects, and we've committed to bringing projects back to you so that you can see results from your actions. Now I'll walk back through the approved project description, provide an update on the financial situation, and then summarize the current deal points and options for you to consider. The proposed dream plant includes 4 programmatic elements: a place for gathering and dining, space for office and leadership pursuits, a venue for performance and art, with all of the ongoing operational costs and operational responsibilities handled by a boutique hotel. The development team continues to be excited about this project, cautiously optimistic given the complexity of the project, but enthusiastic about the location and the opportunity to blend these elements together in a single iconic building. Taken together and completed in a way that emphasizes preservation and innovation, access and activity, this is a $60 million project. If you've had the chance to go inside this building, you know it was not built with any anticipation of modern energy code or fire code or seismic standards or access for wheelchairs or strollers or any consideration for getting people to the roof to enjoy the spectacular river views. That's the challenge in facing this project. Let's dive into the numbers a little bit. In 2022, the development team had put together a funding strategy that would involve them paying over $49 million of a $56 million project. The agency agreed at that time to pay for city fees and asbestos remediation, which we estimated then to be about $1.5 million. This left a $5.2 million gap. That's what we pursued state funding to cover. Today, the project cost has increased to $60 million. This includes a revised working estimate of the agency's commitment to fund fees and remediation. That's moved up to about $1.8 million as an estimate. So when you take that into consideration, the anticipated project cost increases leave about $8.9 million that still needs to be solved for. The development team has proposed to cover almost $3 million of that by raising more equity, putting more equity into the project. That leaves $6 million unresolved. That's something that you could choose to invest in the project. If you did, the developer would be funding about 87% of the project, and the agency would be covering about 13%. So this brings us to the question for your consideration today, which is about deal points. Here you can see the deal points that would continue to go forward without change into the development agreement. These are the things that you've seen in 2022, no changes today. They would carry forward. These include the various project elements and uses that I've just described, the historic listing, the use of the outdoor space, the sale price, which is based on the property appraisal, the agency's commitment to cover the cost of city fees and asbestos abatement, and cooperation around parking. The 2 terms that you could revise today are about funding and timing. The project team is asking the agency to invest further in the project. The $6 million needed to complete the project funding would be used for that first phase of construction, which is really all about testing and preserving the existing structure. Funds would also be used for environmental mitigation and preservation of artifacts. The other deal point here updates the schedule, linking the closing date to the timing of the development agreement and giving us certainty that the construction would begin within 2 years of that agreement. This deal point also opens an opportunity for early work to begin on the building structure prior to closing. That would be something that we could work out. For the benefit of anyone watching this presentation, I'll add the important distinction that I know that the agency board knows quite well. The agency board has authority to use funds for this project. Those funds are urban renewal funds. That's tax increment that is restricted for use on capital projects that are also projects that are located within the bounds of the district. The funds, the urban renewal funds, cannot be used for providing city services or for projects elsewhere in the city. The steam plant property is currently tax exempt and has been for 100 years or more. Although the development team is exploring historic tax credits as part of their financial structure, the sale of this property would put it on the tax rolls. And with time, any agency investment in the project, whether $1.8 million or a higher amount, would be recouped, and then some. The agency director recommends that if you would like to move ahead with this development proposal, you approve these revised terms. If you do so, staff would immediately begin working with the developer to finalize and sign a development agreement. That's when the clock starts, and there's 24 months to reach closing on the land and the beginning of construction. Although, as I said before, we'd look for opportunities to work with the developer on an earlier start date because everyone is eager to see change happen at this site. To close, I'll zoom out a little bit. Our team will be back to talk with you soon about the Downtown Core Housing Initiative. We've got a date in early May and another in June. I'm afraid we're filling up your schedule, but there's a lot of work to be done. We've heard comments from some of you that you are interested in seeing cranes in the air and housing units coming out of the ground. While not all of these projects involve cranes, I think it's worth just seeing how many projects are recently completed or underway or poised to get started. There's more here that I'm not even including, but this gives you a sampling of what's going on right now. We look forward to be back to talk with you further about downtown housing. In the meantime, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about the STEAM plan. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Will. It's so exciting, all of the things that are happening downtown, and I've been a huge fan and champion for this project all along. So I'm eager to hear my colleagues' reactions to this, but I'm very, very excited to be at this place. So I see Randy with a hand up, so I'll turn it over to you, Randy.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Will, and your team for all the work you have done on this and so many other things in our downtown and riverfront. It's truly rewarding to watch the transformation being made. With that said, I do have some questions. Although I've been enthusiastic about this project and I've supported it from the beginning, I am starting to get a little sticker shock. And I would just, as a comparison, what would it cost if the steam plant wasn't there and we were going to build a similar type of building with bare ground? What would the cost difference be between trying to make the steam plant fit into a
Oops.
We've
Looks like he hit the mute button.
Randy.
Yeah, we've just lost Randy.
We lost our Randy.
So,
Internet 1, Randy 0.
I don't know if there's someone else who has we can put him. Oh, yeah, Mike, why don't you take it away and I'll come back to Randy.
I don't have any idea what Randy's questions would have been, but I have a couple. And so, we'll substitute my little ones until he can come back. Will, as Randy said, that was a great report. Appreciate all the information. There's only one piece that's, for me, that's still missing here in what you gave us. And I don't even know how to ask the question well. Would you say, how would you define currently the development team? Are there any changes in that? Are they largely the same? What's the nature of their ability to perform the work of getting that developed?
Sure.
I'd be interested in your thoughts on that.
Yeah. The development team in general remains the same that it was. I think there's been a couple kind of changes around the edges. So when the project first came forward in the initial proposal, it didn't rely on a hotel concept. They were really looking at office use. One of the changes has been a pivot to work with the hotel. I think it provides a lot of operational benefit. It covers the same kind of functional use from a pro forma standpoint, which is that at the end of the day, the bills are going to get paid by the hotel just the way the office was. And that's what keeps this building, makes this building self-sustaining rather than something that's always looking for public funds to maintain the way that, a museum might or some other kind of, nonprofit benefit. So that's one change. So the hotel group has been involved. The other change, when we started this project, I would say that we really saw two people as leads. Mark Mixis from DeChase Mixis was playing a prominent role, and Mark Frohnmeyer from Arcimoto was also they were the twin leads and kind of front people for the project. As the project has moved farther along, they're both still involved, but Mark Mixis and the Chase Mixis team is really at the forefront of making this project a development and making this pencil and making this thing happen. Mark Frohnmeyer has continued to be involved with the project, but his real focus is now in the leadership component, which is a subset of the office use. Even though office is not as prominent as it used to be, there's still an office component, and within that, one of the opportunities is for a leadership component. So, so his role has shifted into be that. And
what does that mean? A leadership component? Is that in work with the university, or what does that actually mean?
That is the idea. It's collaboration. He's been talking about collaborative project with the university, and then I think tapping into a number of local leaders within the community who have, in business, nonprofit, and multiple spheres to kind of put all of that together into a kind of a programmatic element that can be really exciting. But so he continues to be involved there. We're working with Mark Mixis on a regular basis, though, for the construction and development and seeing this thing through. Does that answer the questions you were asking?
More or less, yeah, I guess. Actually, it's funny offhand. I'm supposed to get together for a meeting with Mr. Frohnmeyer tonight, so I'll ask him that stuff. But thank you.
Okay, Alan.
Got a demanding dog puppy over here. Yeah, thanks for that presentation, Will. Well done. I've been a fan of this project for many years, and I think it's potentially be a very cool project in a very pivotal spot, and will add a lot to that part of the city. Not thrilled with the funding mechanism, but that's water down the river. I guess it'll be under the bridge, but this particular site's down the river. I really like the changes and the pivot to the hotel. I think we desperately need more rooms, especially in the downtown. Not at all surprised with the increase in costs. I have a lot of confidence in Mark Mixis and his ability to do things, so that helps me quite a bit. And I'm okay with the increasing, I'm okay with spending the $6 million from the URD now that we have it, and the increase in time. So I think the two changes are the two things that we're going to decide on. I'm in favor of both. So hope other councils will do the same. Thanks.
Great, thank you. I have Matt, and then I have Emily. I see you.
Hey, thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Will, and I want to share my enthusiasm as well. And apologies to council and staff for in advance. I'm going to center my questions around a potential community benefits agreement, and I just want to make sure, Will, that if indeed the pieces that I'm going to talk about in regards to locally sourced sustainable goods, prioritizing in a local workforce, full family benefits, if there's if we're on a time crunch, like, does council need to approve this piece today, or could we delay a month and weave in some key community benefits agreement pieces to it and pass this in May?
I can speak to some of that. I can say there's no hard deadline that we are driving for with the project. I think that time is relevant to the construction costs. It's relevant to the status of the building. 1 month is, but there's no hard date that would dictate that. The other part of that that I can't speak to, but maybe somebody else can, is the calendar that you've got in front of you and what else you need to have. I know I'm coming back to talk with you about housing twice in the next couple of months. So, but those are the only parts that I know. Sarah or someone else could comment on that.
Yeah, I mean, council always has the authority to make a motion and move something off, but we don't have an open session in May. We're really booked. So I'm scrolling down right now. It would probably have to be June or potentially July. We're pretty booked. We've been scheduling 3 months out, and as I look through, it's pretty high priority. So.
Okay, thank you, City Manager, and thank you, Will. So even in June, it might give us enough time to chew on potential deal points revolving around a community benefits agreement, pieces that could hopefully prioritize diversity and equity in the project workforce, incorporate sustainability objectives in the project's design and construction. Require the utilization of state and federally approved training and apprenticeship opportunities for the workforce on the project. Those are the pieces that the county has lifted up as recently as 2019. Lane Community College has lifted up. The state has supported, and I just don't know if we have such a mechanism at the city. And for such a significant investment, I think we should. So my longing is to provided it's not going to derail things, manager and mayor and colleagues, is to table this to a date certain in June to hopefully weave in some of those key community benefits points that I alluded to.
Okay, I just wanted to, I'm going to turn to whoever's next. Like it might be, it's Emily, but I just wanted to ask, we do have, this does include a prevailing wage agreement. And can you speak to some of those other elements in terms of the discussion and the design that Matt is referring to in terms of energy efficiency, other pieces?
I certainly, as you just mentioned, the last action by the agency board stipulated that the project would be prevailed, and so this is or would be a prevailing wage project, and so that's incorporated into our work with the developer would be incorporated in a development agreement. Beyond that, they've been looking for opportunities for to make this a green building. They've looked at that through the construction and through the operations, including the restaurant use. I think one of the things that probably any architect would say that is a starting point is the idea of reusing and restoring an original building is a fundamentally green idea. Beyond that, one of the things that we always work with any of our partners on is local workforce, local trades. We and the state are eager to pursue any work with minority, women, and emerging businesses, and to where we can facilitate and empower the developer to do that kind of contracting, so that their contracting work is as more inclusive and more diverse than conventionally has been done. So I think there are a number of ways where we will, regardless of any council action, be looking for making this project a project that feels good in many different aspects, and then we could certainly entertain other conversations as well.
Okay, thank you very much. I see that Randy has reappeared, so we'll get Randy and then Emily.
Thank you, Mayor, and I apologize for that. Despite clicking on the button update tonight, it decided to go forward with that process right as I was speaking, which for some may be a good thing. Anyway, back to my initial question of what is the cost difference of trying to convert the existing steam plant versus if it was bare ground. And I'm asking this question just as a basis of understanding. This is absolutely nothing against the developers. I think the Chase Mixus is a good local developer. This is just more trying to understand the economics of the project. Building a similar building, a function, roughly what would the cost be compared to trying to convert the existing building?
Thank you for the question. I don't know that I've got an exact answer for you, and Denny, if you've got something kind of off the top of your head that you want to add in, please do. I mean, I think the very simple thing that we've heard from the development team is it's significantly more expensive to be working with the existing building. They have to do a lot of selective demolition on the inside because the floor levels are not in the right places. The cores of the building isn't existing, and so there's when we did an appraisal for the property, the understanding where the project was, what the project was trying to get to, the property appraisal came back at a negative $8 million, and so that's a starting place of understanding kind of what the impact of working with that initial building is, rather than bare ground that's new. I think the one caveat for that is that because it's an existing building, it's built closer to the river than anything can be built today, and so that's something that's something special about the existing building, and it provides an amenity to the community that we wouldn't get otherwise if we were working with bare ground. So that's a couple of thoughts, and Denny, I don't know if you want to add more.
Yeah, I will. Well, thank you. I think it starts with the bare ground assumption, because that in order to get to bare ground, you have to demo the building, and that is not an insignificant cost. And we've looked at that number, Will, you might, but it's probably a couple $1 million to demo that building. It's got asbestos issues and so forth. So just to get it to that condition has an expense. You know, it's almost always, you hear it's almost always easier to build new than to deal with a historic building. But you know, the premium here that we're all paying, the developers and through our contribution, is an opportunity to save an old building. And I think that's the value proposition that is a little bit different than a greenfield site or a bare ground site offers. And so that's why we purchased the building, to try to save it, I think. So generally speaking, there is a premium, but I think it's in the long run, the community values that premium.
Thank you. And I wasn't expecting, just making the decision on cost alone, but I think it's important that we have kind of those comparisons as we are determining how best to use the community's money. And so that's kind of why I asked that question. I was not aware that we can be closer to the river with the existing building than building new. And I was sure there would be costs obviously associated with demo. It was more of just trying to get an idea of cost comparison. And you guys know your business a lot better than I do. I also want to say that I do support contributing more public money towards a project that's using prevailing wage. I never believe that projects should be balanced on the back of our workers, but at the same time, I don't know that the developer should always bear the full cost of that. So I am interested in that. I do support those conversations, and I know that we did extend the urban development district with knowing we were going to have to invest in more infrastructure and provide some assistance in order to get the type of construction completed that we want. So I don't want to ignore that piece as well. I guess at this point, those are my main points and questions, and I will be interested in hearing what my colleagues have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Emily, and then Lindsay.
Thank you. My laptop's not working, so I'm on the iPad and I don't know, see the raised hand. I love this project. I've always been in favor of it. It's really a shame that with the pandemic, we got so much farther behind and the prices have gone up. The prices are going to continue to go up. They've satisfied the requirements that they asked them to. It may not be the greenest project imaginable, but I'm okay with where it is. The urban renewal money is there. I'm not crazy about urban renewal, but this is a project I think is worthwhile. We'll never get it back, never mind how close it is to the river or demolition costs. I think from a historic point of view, it's really important to save it. From an economical point of view, I think it's important to save it. And for the attractiveness and pleasantness of living down by the riverfront, I think this is a really great amenity. We need more hotel rooms, and yet it's still got a lot of open space for the general public. I think it's a really good project. It's too bad it's gotten more expensive, but so is everything else. I don't want to wait. Cranes in the air, cranes in the air. Let's get going. 24 months is already, 2 years away. So it's going to be a while before we get to go have a beer there. I really encourage you to go forward with this project at this point. And I really like it. So I'll be voting for this wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Thank you. Lindsay.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Will, for all the work on this. I'm excited about this project too. I love a concept of taking something very old and giving it new life and breathing into our riverfront district. It's the entire span of that, and just really looking forward to the next many years. And it's understandable that the project has risen in cost. I'm supportive of the project itself. I'm not uninterested in learning more about Councilor Keating's community benefit agreement, though I don't want to delay the project anymore. I think it's important that we have transparency, and that if we're using a lot of public dollars to support a project, that we're able to kind of give a direction to what we want to see in the community. So if there's a way that we can move the project forward and then also continue looking at what that is, that's what I would support today. So thank you again for all your work, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Okay, thank you. I have Mike, Matt, and Alan all for second rounds.
Thank you, Mayor. I am interested in Matt's idea of what other community benefits we might leverage with doing this. But it's always our job as council and the urban, development board to try and get the most benefit for the community that we can. The only discomfort I would have is that the leverage we have here is if we hold out some community benefit that we require, and the developers are unwilling to do it, the cost is not continuing with the project. And so I have some mixed feelings about how much we want to push for additional community benefits, considering the importance of the project to the community. So the only other thing I have is a budgetary question for the manager. This additional $6 million in URD, is there an opportunity cost for that we might be using with our budget considerations lately, that we might be using URD monies for some other thing in terms of the work that you're doing in-house around City Hall or Station 17 or any other community priorities budgetarily that we have, that this money might be better spent towards?
Well, there's nothing in the immediate budget gap. Like there's nothing, this money won't solve that.
We couldn't swap that out, for example. We couldn't.
Well, I mean, there really isn't a way to swap it out. It's one-time dollars, so it's not something that we're really focused on needing to reduce in the long term. So you could maybe do some swap, I'd have to think about it, that would help in a single year, but it's not a sustainable solution. The question about, are there other priorities? That's really for you as a policymakers to determine what those priorities are. If there's other projects that you feel more strongly about, that's really why we put it in front of you to make that choice.
Yeah. Well, I know we're spending, I don't know what the actual number is today, $1 million, or $1.5 million to have City Hall retrofitted properly, correct?
So the number that I shared with you before is between the purchase, all of the upgrades, and some of the facilities work we wanted to do while the building was empty. I think we're right around 8.5 million.
Okay. And so if we decided if we decided because of our budget concerns to spend that money rather than facilities reserve or wherever that money is currently designed to come from, we designed to have it come from URD. We're not putting these two things in conflict. In other words, we could do both with current urban renewal district fund capacity. Is that correct?
I feel like I'm not certain I'm totally understanding, but yes. So we're not counting on urban renewal to do our current work at City Hall. We still have a $4 million note that we will need to pay to eWeb. We weren't anticipating using urban renewal for that. You could potentially, if you sold some property and you wanted to do that. The other piece is, I do think there is going to be a future need to make some improvements to the north building. So the City Hall North.
Right.
Council chambers is on the ground floor. I think the upstairs could be a really great community space for all kinds of events and community gatherings, but it's not accessible. And so I do think there'll be a future use for that, but I don't think this competes with that.
And I guess my question is about the capacity of the urban renewal district complete funding long-term. We're not bound in some way that we have to choose either or, are we?
I'd have to have Will speak to the financial piece and what we're calculating over the long term.
Because I know we still have budget conversations to have, and it is still in my mind to ask some questions about whether or not we could swap out some of that facility reserve money that we're putting towards eWeb.
Yes, you probably could
give ourselves some room, budgetary room. So
you probably could do that. I'd want to think about how that might affect long-term things. But yeah, if you said,
right,
we want to use urban renewal to purchase this and free up this general fund for a one-time bridge, right, you could do that, but you'll have the same problem to solve next year.
Right. I'm just asking about, we're not giving up capacity. There's no opportunity cost for making this decision with regard to the deal points. Is that correct?
Well, this is why I'm want to be sure I'm being really transparent here. You're giving up, yes, you will be investing $6 million towards the steam plant. That $6 million will not be available anymore, right, because you've already locked it up. So you are, every time you make an urban renewal investment, you bring that number down. So you do lose some capacity, but
total capacity today is what?
Will?
There's $75 million based on the January amendment.
Okay, thank you. That's what I wanted to know.
Okay, thank you. All right. I have.
Mayor, can I jump in before you move on? I just wanted to say two more things about the CBA and a potential meeting. One thing I wanted to remind us is this project started with an RFP process. So we worked with the council to put all of the criteria that you wanted to see in this project in the RFP. And so the group that we selected responded to that, how they were going to address those benefit criteria. I don't have it right in front of me, but that's an extra step that we don't always do on MUPD projects, where someone's coming to us and asking, and then we're saying yes, but. So we have done that. And then we're looking at the calendar. It's possible we might be able to find a May date so I would ask that you not say date specific, Councilor Keating. If you make that motion, try to just say as soon as possible, and we'll work to try to make that happen soon. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Well, Matt, you're up, and then Alan.
Thanks, Mayor. I'm gonna make a motion, so I want to defer to Alan to give him a shot to ask any questions.
Okay, thank you, Alan.
Yeah, thanks. To Mike's comment, the capacity, the plan for using up the capacity, this has been in it from the beginning. This project also has prevailing wage. It's built by developers that have qualifications for LEED buildings, in particular the Inkwell building over by Costco development. That's a platinum building. The Northwest Community Credit Union is a gold building. This is a very difficult project to do. I guess my issue with your potential motion is the timing of this. I didn't see an intended motion unless I missed one, Matt. I didn't see one, which is our working agreements that we would do that instead of springing it on this. I guess this is not only 11th hour, it's kind of 11:59 and 58 seconds. We've been working on this for literally years. Like the city manager said, this is an RFP process we started a long time ago with criteria in it. It's not fair to spring this on developers at this point. It'll change the whole thing and may even scuttle the project. If we did do this process, I think it would apply to projects after we adopt the policy, not before. My suggestion is that this conversation will be a lot more complicated than it initially appears. It's not a simple conversation to have. The ones at Lane County and Springfield didn't happen just like instantly. And so my suggestion is that instead of a motion to apply it to this, that you put out a work session poll for the city to adopt a community benefit agreement and learn from what happened at Springfield and Lane County. And we work through that process, which I think will be a lot more lengthy than people think it will be. So I like the idea. I just don't like the application of it in this instance. I think it's unfair and inappropriate.
Okay, thank you. I see Emily also raising her hand, so I'm going to turn to her since I know you're going to come up with a motion, Matt.
Thank you very much. I pretty much agree with Alan. The developers did what we asked, and we put out an RFP. We didn't get, a lot of other respondees. I don't think it's fair to go back and say, oh, now we're going to change all the parameters and make you wait some more when they've gone through the steps to make a very difficult project be able to go forward. If we don't do it, we're losing money. We have to rip it down, and what are we going to put there instead? I think this is a really important opportunity. We get criticized for losing out on opportunities. It's an iconic building. We don't have that many historical buildings. When we did the urban renewal, this was specifically put in there. It's one of the reasons I voted for it. It's a large amount of money. Yes, we're going to have lots of demands for it, but we've already put this one in the works and we have the money for it. I really encourage us to go forward. If we want to add more climate restrictions for future buildings, that's something to talk about. But this is a long time coming. A lot of work has been put into it. There's been revisions. We've had to go back to financial considerations. So to change the game rules at this point, I don't think is acceptable. We've put our energy in this. We've figured out solutions. I think it's a great idea. I think if we don't do it, what are you proposing that we do instead with it? So please, I think we should go forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Before I turn this over to Matt, I'm going to just chime in also on this because I think it would be helpful I would like to see the council move forward on this project also. It's been a long time in the works and you've made a lot of commitments. I agree with everything that Emily just said, what Alan just said about this. But I would just say, two other things. One is that this defines an economic development project. And we just had a revenue conversation earlier this week, and several of you commented on, we need to create development that increases the tax base and provides jobs. And this is one of those projects. So, I think, this meets exactly what you were talking about just 2 days ago as a priority. The other piece is that I would say that looking through the agreements and some of the comments that Will made and that I asked for, is there are many elements of a community benefits agreement that are already incorporated into this project. And so maybe just a little reminder about what specifically those are. I mean, Will touched on them. This is not without community benefits in the sense that I think your motion would seek. And I would hate to see it delayed when that has been thought through, and would encourage you to think about Alan's suggestion that we could come back and look generally at community benefits agreements and where we're missing those pieces and what we might do as a council. So with that said, I will now turn it over to you, Matt, for your motion.
I appreciate that, Mayor. And I echo the gratitude for staff in regards to meeting a great many of the community benefits agreement deal points that I articulated at the top of this conversation. To be clear, I'm not fast tracking something today. The intent is to move this project forward. I share the enthusiasm for this project. I just think it's worth us cementing the need for a local workforce to keep their money local, apprenticeship utilization, and apprenticeship training, and a motion to delay makes the project better for our entire community. It is, I appreciate that there's some room in May. It doesn't take it off the table, it enhances it. And should it fail, and even if it passes, I appreciate and applaud Councilor Zelenka's suggestion about advancing a work session poll for a larger community benefits agreement so we can codify and cement our values for future projects. So with that being said, Mayor, I do want to move to table to the earliest possible date as suggested, May 2024, to revisit steam plant redevelopment.
Mayor, if I could interject just now, there is no motion on the table, Councilor Keating, in which to table. So what it sounds like you're making is not a motion to table, not a motion to postpone, but a motion to delay any action on this item until, and then the remainder of what your motion is.
Thank you for the clarification, Catherine. Let me rephrase that then. Move to delay any action on steam plant redevelopment until the earliest possible date in May.
I'm not seeing a second on that.
Very well. I will go back to the originally intended motion. Move to approve the use of $6 million of riverfront urban renewal funds to support the steam plant redevelopment and the revised terms in attachment A, and to authorize the agency director to enter into a development agreement consistent with the revised terms in attachment A.
Second.
Alan, you want to speak to that? No. Okay. Any other comments? All in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that passes. Thank you very much. Anyone opposed? Wait, did I miss anyone? Because I only counted.
Jennifer's not here.
Oh, Jennifer's not here. Right. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. Thanks for the conversation. Thank you for just bringing up a question, Matt. And with that, I think I'm...
Mayor, I saw my hand up.
Oh.
It was slightly different.
Okay, go for it.
Thank you. I move that the council hold a work session on a potential community benefits agreement.
Second.
To develop a community development agreement.
Mayor, if I may interject, I apologize. You are in an urban renewal agency meeting now.
Okay. I can hold off on that, Mayor.
Okay.
Because we're going to go right into
Yeah,
Well,
so-
okay.
If you want to get out of this meeting and then call me, that would be great.
Yep. So with that,
Thank you, City Attorney.
With that, I will close the meeting of the Urban Renewal Agency and welcome you to the April 24th City Council work session. And now I have hands raised. So Alan, and then Mike, and then Matt.
Move to hold a work session for potential development of a community benefits agreement by the city.
That was a second from you, Randy?
Yeah, I think Matt and I said it at the same
Okay.
time, but yes.
All right. Mike, you have your hand raised. Do you want to speak to that?
Thank you, Mayor. My friend may have an intended other side of that motion, and I'd be interested to know what it was. We already have a community benefits agreement for MUPTI. What a community benefits agreement for what is my question to you? Use of any urban renewal dollars for what?
Sorry, I should have been more specific. Community benefit agreements for, let's say, non-MUPTI projects.
What if there's no tax dollars involved at all?
Well,
if they're private development, I'm not understanding what you're asking.
Yeah, I think that was implied that only projects where we're providing some kind of subsidy would be project we would be involved in. If we're not involved in it, I'm not suggesting community benefit agreement for all projects in the city of Eugene, just the ones that the cities. It would be a city policy.
Is your motion intended to change that we look at changing the current MUPTI benefit plan?
I don't think so. I think what we have in MUPTI is pretty good, and it could be a template for potentially CBA for other types of projects.
So really it's urban renewal.
Yeah, probably. Or if there's other federal projects that we might, federal funded projects, but they have their own strings.
I see the manager's hand raised, and I wonder if she just wants to step in and provide some clarification.
Well, actually, one of the things I was going to say, I always feel like I have to say, you have the power, control, authority to introduce these motions and work sessions. One of the reasons why that makes it really challenging for us is if you direct, hey, we want to have a work session on this, then we don't actually know what the context of that is. What exactly do you want to talk about? Which is why we love the work session poll. I've spent several hours this week going back, looking through minutes, trying to understand what was it, because these motions for work sessions and meetings are just not well fleshed out. So we would just need to spend some time understanding what that is. Otherwise, we just come to the work session going, okay, you want to talk about community, and we don't have anything prepared for you.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And usually that's why we do an intended motion to do that, but that didn't happen in this case. And why we do the work session poll, which actually I created to flesh out these things, but this is an unusual circumstance. I think that we could come back to with some more detail if the motion passes.
I guess the other option you have would be not to make a motion for this and simply release a work session poll with a fleshed out question and not try to do this on the fly right now when we also have another topic for discussion and we have half an hour. So I'm wondering if you would consider I think everyone's interested in that work session, and that work session poll would pass. But you'd have to withdraw your motion.
Yeah, and you have two people. Well, I could do that after they say their piece.
Okay. All right. Matt.
Thank you,
Matt, and then Randy.
Thank you, Mayor. I really liked Alan's suggestion earlier about advancing something that we could all chew on, and I have something already written up that we can chew on, and it was based, Mayor, on language that we passed on the Lane Community College Board. It's a community benefits agreement that Lisa Fragula and I co-authored right before the LCC bond in 2020. So I think it would be appropriate to distribute that in the form of a poll so we can all be on the same page going into a possible work session.
Okay, that's helpful. That's great. Randy.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to correct something I heard Councilor Clark say. He was saying that we already have a CBA on MUPDs, and I thought we did too until 1059 Willamette, when I asked the question, will this be prevailing wage? And I heard the answer, no, it will not. And so I'm still kind of confused on that piece. I thought anytime government assistance was provided that the prevailing wage kicked in. But apparently, if somebody from staff could speak to that, because I can go back and pull exactly where that was said. But I asked the question, and I believe, well, I'm not sure who said it, but I remember hearing that.
I can speak to that. The work that we do with the state office, the BOLI office, the requirements for state prevailing wage on a project kicks in when the total of public agency contribution to the project exceeds $750,000. There's tax exemptions because there's no financial contribution, but it's an exemption from a payment. Tax exemptions are not counted towards that. The other thing that's not counted towards that is payment of government fees, such as permit fees or SDCs. Beyond that, if the project reaches that $750,000 mark, then the project becomes prevailed.
How about when we give sell the property for $1?
It depends on the valuation of the property. So if the property has a value that is higher than that, then that is considered a giving of public funds or public assets to the property or to the project. If the project has a valuation less than that for any reason, then it's not considered exceeding that. But it would be added with any other contributions and could exceed that $750,000 number.
Thank you, Will. I don't want to delay this anymore, but those are things I will be looking for in a work session. I think we need to start with a common understanding of what we do and don't do at present. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Mike, I know you have your hand raised, but I actually really would like to clear this agenda item so we can go on to the next piece. And it's clear we're going to have a work session poll, and you'll have an opportunity to weigh in on what needs to be covered in that work session.
Thank you, Mayor. That was my question. Is there still a motion on the table?
Yeah, I'm turning to Alan. There's a motion on the table that's been seconded, and I'm turning to Alan now. Oh, you're muted, Alan.
Mayor, a couple more years, I'll get this down. I withdraw my motion, and I'll work with Councilor Keating to put together a joint work session poll on this topic.
I withdraw my second.
Okay, thank you both very much. Thanks for the conversation. And with that, we can move on to our second item on the Intergovernmental Relations Report. And I guess I'll turn that over to the manager first.
Yeah, thank you. And I am also saying thank you for that. I'm joined by Ethan Nelson, who's our Intergovernmental Relations Manager. We thought it would be a good idea to give you a wrap up of kind of what happened with the United Front and our state legislature. So I'll just let Ethan walk us through that.
Great. Hello, everyone. As Sarah said, Ethan Nelson, City of Eugene Intergovernmental Relations Manager. And for the viewing public, that means that I support the advocacy efforts to accomplish Eugene's policy funding goals at the state and federal level. At the end of this short presentation, there will be opportunity for questions. And for those questions related to our policy or funding implementation, I am joined by Municipal Judge Greg Gill, Eugene Springfield Fire Chief Mike Caven, and Eugene Police Department Deputy Chief Sean Adams for the Q&A. And is everybody seeing this presentation well? Okay, great. I'll move through things. Today we'll begin with reviewing the 2024 priorities.
Actually, and just an FYI, we're not seeing it in presentation mode. We're seeing your notes and all the slides. There you go. Thanks.
Perfect. Thanks. Today we'll begin with reviewing the 2024 priorities to reframe council with the direction you provided in November in advance of the 2024 short session. This will be followed by an update on accomplishments for the state priorities before moving into an overview of the federal United Front efforts. As you recall, in November last year, Council adopted these 4 main priorities for IGR efforts during the 2024 session. It is important to illustrate the connection between the city's legislative priorities and the recently adopted strategic plan. This alignment provided a great deal of clarity for staff and engagement with legislators. While there was clear direction for IGR efforts related to stabilizing the cost of housing, the other identified urgent community needs also included actions that provided clear direction for our legislative agenda. I don't want to understate the importance of this work that Council completed and the clear direction is provided as we advocate at the state and federal level. I firmly believe that this clear direction is one element that added to our success this session. On to the priorities. The city's top priority this year was to secure emergency funding to respond to the University District Hospital closure. Eugene Representative Nancy Nathanson led the efforts to pass House Bill 4136, which included $1.3 million for a basic life support ambulance to Eugene for a 2-year period and $3.2 million to Lane County for innovative pilot programs to increase access to health care. In response to statewide pressure to fund existing shelters, the legislature included $65 million within Senate Bill 1530 for unhoused shelter statewide. Eugene unsuccessfully sought a revision to the bill to expand eligibility to include rest stops and RV car camping sites such as 310 Garfield. The bill includes, quote, $65 million for the operations, services, and administration of emergency shelters, project turnkey sites, and navigation centers. Eugene Unhoused Services staff are actively seeking engagement with Oregon Housing and Community Services, OHCS, and Lane County to secure allocated funding for our unhoused programs. Currently, Eugene and League of Oregon City staff are seeking information from OHCS as to the distribution process, eligibility, and criteria for this funding. Senate Bill 1530 also included infrastructure funding for water and wastewater infrastructure projects in cities that would lead to housing development. Eugene's Crow Road infrastructure project received $6 million, and the project is moving forward with Public Works Engineering currently managing the RFP process for design services for this summer and for the target construction in summer of 2025. And this one's a little bit more in depth. So this session, the Vehicle for Investment in Mental Health, Behavioral Health Systems was tied to the efforts to reform Ballot Measure 110. House Bill 4002 was the vehicle for this comprehensive work and included a number of policy changes, including it prohibits insurers from requiring prior authorization or other utilization review for coverage of substance use disorder medications. It requires coordinated care organizations to provide to members medications for treatment of opioid use disorder and any co-occurring substance use disorder or mental health condition. It prohibits coordinated care organizations and public payers of health insurance from requiring prior authorization for medication-assisted treatment. It allows pharmacists to prescribe and dispense early refills of medication for opioid use disorder under specified conditions. It also allows pharmacists to have on-site prescription drug lockers without obtaining a license or registration from the State Board of Pharmacy. Requires coordinated care organizations to add adequate networks of addiction treatment providers. It directs the Alcohol and Drug Policy Commission to conduct a study related to access to opioid use disorder treatment and interventions. Requires commission to report recommendations to Legislative Assembly to address barriers to accessing opioid use disorder treatment and interventions. Establishes a certified community behavioral health clinic program in the Oregon Health Authority and specifies the requirements for the program. It establishes the Joint Task Force on Regional Behavioral Health Accountability to make recommendations to the Legislative Assembly to improve the governance of behavioral health systems and strengthen evidence-based and equitable funding decisions and accountability of behavioral health systems. Establishes the Task Force on Improving the Safety of Behavioral Health Workers to make recommendations to the Legislative Assembly to address the safety concerns that are prevalent in the behavioral health industry. Establishes the United We Heal Medicaid payment program and the authority to provide supplemental Medicaid medical assistance payments to behavioral health providers to enable the providers to access enhanced apprenticeship and training programs and opportunities by participating in Labor Management Training Trust. Modifies the definition of delivery for purposes of the Uniform Controlled Substance Act. Increases presumptive sentences when unlawful delivery of a controlled substance occurs in specified locations. Increases penalties for unlawful possession of a controlled substance on September 1st, 2024. And it designates the crime as drug enforcement misdemeanor and specifies the sentence. This creates a new form of conditional discharge for drug enforcement misdemeanors and establishes processes for sealing records related to the crime. Establishes the Oregon Behavioral Health Deflection Program, consisting of grants awarded to fund deflection programs. Directs the Oregon Criminal Justice Commission to track data including arrests and prosecutions for possession and delivery crimes and data concerning deflection program outcomes. Increases the number of hours a person can be held in a facility when admitted to the facility due to intoxication or being under the influence of controlled substances. Authorizes members of a mobile crisis intervention team to take a person to a sobering facility or appropriate facility. Modifies immunity from civil and criminal liability for certain persons involved in the provision of treatment. Establishes the Oregon Jail-Based Medications for Opioid Use Disorder Grant Program. And as materials in your packet provided, allocated millions of dollars this biennium to implement these programs that are listed. Onto our United Front, our federal agenda. The annual United Front Partners of Lane County delegation visited Washington, D.C. from March 17th to March 20th. Our focus for the trip meetings was to advance Eugene's position on federal telecommunications policy, both with the congressional delegation as well as with the Federal Communications Commission. We also focused meetings on community resiliency, seeking federal reimbursement for the ice storm damage through the Federal Emergency Management Administration, and also meeting with the Housing and Urban Development Department to provide insight on federal rules related to unhoused assistance and affordable housing requirements. A list of meetings, a hard copy of the 2024 booklet, and a cover memo were placed in your mailboxes last week. And in preparation for the 2025 legislative session, I've been reaching out to legislatures, agency staff, Governor Kotek staff, local elected officials, and internal policy experts and leadership to gain understanding of where priorities overlap with opportunity. As I shared earlier in the presentation, Council's strategic priorities are driving the agenda while we adjust for the areas that the legislature and the governor are prioritizing. The list on the left are items that are guiding many of these discussions. As was adopted by City Council last fall, the IGR operating agreements process includes agenda review and setting during late summer and early fall, bringing back the proposed state and federal agenda to City Council by the end of the year. And with that, I'll turn it back on over to you, Mayor Vinis, and available for questions. And I also have Judge Gill, Deputy Chief Adams, and Fire Chief Cable.
Oh, that's great. Yes, thank you very much. That was a lot to pack in very, very quickly. So pretty dense information. Thank you for that. I see Mike's hand. So Mike, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to ask Ethan a question here. And I don't want to get too deeply in the woods on this one. And how would you define Senate Bill 1530 and 1537 if someone asked you about that relative to the previous session's 3414 failure? Would you say those are separated versions of a restated 3414? How would you define those in that way, or how would you?
Yeah, thank you, Councilor Clark, for the question. And so House Bill 3414 from the 2023 legislative session focused in on a few items, including the development of the Housing Accountability and Production Office. There was some other preemptive actions that related to land use that would impact the city, and our core position would be in opposition to those because it would reduce local control. And one of those was a UGB expansion. This year, Senate Bill 1537 ended up being the governor brought back that package, and legislators worked on that related to some of the housing land use policy pieces. Senate Bill 1530 ended up being really the funding package that the legislature put together. And I would say that 1537 implemented with revisions based upon feedback from a lot of stakeholders, including cities, those policy elements that were included in the 2023 package. So
1537 passed, and our senators, both from this area, both voted no. And their comments at the time were that the city of Eugene had problems with it. Would you care to speculate why they said that?
yes, Councilor Clark, our position, City Council's position, is that local control. We were not in support of state mandates related to dictating land use regulations. That's the purview of the City Council. It's the purview of councils across the state. And so that's primarily it. The other large piece was the development of the Housing Accountability and Production Office. Many times I would ask the question, what are the problems that we're trying to solve for, and why is this investment prudent, and why are cities being quote unquote held accountable for housing production when it's not part of in statute what we're supposed to be doing. And so that was those questions went unanswered. And so that was much of the reason why we took that position. They had removed the funding elements out of 1537, which council had directed for housing infrastructure. And so then I was focused in on supporting 1530 because those were the priorities that council had adopted.
So we got the money for the stuff within the UGB, but no ability to do what the governor said was necessary in order for her promise of 36,000 new homes per year to get done. Correct?
No, Senate Bill 1537 passed.
Correct. Despite the fact that our senators voted against it and we lobbied against it, would you say that's correct?
At the end, when the funding was removed, yes. City of Eugene was not in support of it.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Are there other questions or comments on that report? No concerns, no more queries about Measure 110? So I will just say, since there's Randy, were you raising your hand?
I was trying. There we go.
There, go for it then.
Well, I just want to say, yeah, I think there's all kinds of concerns still, but you know, we're on the course we're on, and I don't want my silence to indicate that everything is hunky dory, because I'm not sure it is. I think at this point, though, we need to kind of see how it plays out to know what we try to do next, what our next steps are. Thank you.
I would also say that we had a couple of pretty significant wins in this legislative session, and not to lose track of that infrastructure investment in Crow Road had been, this was the second year we took that to the legislature and we got it. And again, thinking about your work session just 2 days ago and wanting to be able to develop more housing, that was a big win to get that kind of support. And I think that the conversation about support for our alternative shelter systems, that's an ongoing conversation, and I think we pushed pretty hard this year, and it's a big priority for this council and for this city. So you know, I think we keep chipping away at the things that are really important. Measure 110 revisions was also a high priority for this council, and a lot of things that this city was advocating for came through in that amended legislation. So there were a lot of wins there.
Well, just to add, including the 1.3 million we got for our EMS system with the closure of the ED.
Right, that's the big win, which was that we really needed that funding, and that came through. So thanks to really good leadership in our delegation and a successful advocacy. So yeah, it was you know, we're important wins. Yeah, Matt.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah. I also want to, you know, say thank you to Ethan and to our to the legislature, in particular the Lane County delegation, for delivering in big ways this last short session. And I want you know, Ethan, I want to thank you so much for the advocacy around broadening either the definition or championing the idea that just because our transitionary housing, or what we all on shorthand call emergency housing support, emergency shelters, rest stops in particular, safe sleep sites, just because they don't fall under the federal HUD definition of emergency housing doesn't mean that that this city council and that our intergovernmental relations team weren't advocating appropriately for either definitions to be changed or for funds to be expanded. And Ethan, I wonder if you could share with my colleagues around the corner looking toward the long session, what, if anything, this council can do to be a helpful partner to either broaden the definition or to help deliver vital resources to help support the rest stop model that is clearly working and unfortunately underfunded because of federal and HUD definitions.
Thanks, Councilor Keating. Right before this work session, I sent an email to Oregon Housing Community Services just on that topic again. So it's an ongoing piece. And for instance, the new House Housing Committee chair who kind of determines that committee's agenda is Representative Pam Marsh. And we just have a meeting with Mayor Venice in 2 weeks' time. She's coming through town. And so we're going to talk about this issue of having a collaborative framework that is comprehensive and addresses, what solutions are working across communities in Oregon and the roles and responsibilities of all of the players. And so what's states, counties, cities doing so that gets mapped out, it's on the table, and that we don't have to come in and advocate for changes so that we can get access to funds. It needs to be in this co-governance or collaborative governance, whole of government approach. And so that's, I think, the big piece of what we're focused in on. And I would say, to the question of what council can do, what I mentioned previously, the work that was done in the strategic plan and then alignment from that on down has been tremendously helpful for efforts with Salem, with legislators, with the governor's office, because I can point back to say, look, our city council is in alignment here from a policy standpoint, and here's all of the other investments that we're making, bringing resources to the table on these issues. And that is for housing and homelessness, on Measure 110, behavioral health, the criminal justice reforms, all of those elements. When we're in alignment, I believe we are more successful than when we're fragmented. So.
Really appreciate it. Thank you. Timely, and count me in to be a helpful partner in whatever you need.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? I'll just say maybe a couple of things about the United Front trip, which was we had a really successful trip, and I know you've got it in your packet. That Ethan provided you the summary about the United Front trip, but I would just say a couple of things. And one is that it was really terrific to have Chief Caven on the trip this year. The focus for the United Front trip really was around ice storm damage and emergency response, and also a conversation about other climate-related disasters like wildfire. And so the chief was a really very clear, knowledgeable advocate for the kind of investment that the city of Eugene needs, and had really, I think, great conversations with the folks at FEMA, with the Bureau of Land Management. It was really great to have him. This is a good year for him to be there, and it was very helpful for the entire United Front. And then I'll say we've been pushing this FCC challenges for years, and we did have, we had a really great moment of feeling like we've been pushing and not getting very far. And then we met with Senator Wyden, and I barely got the request out for him to call the chair of the FCC, and I had barely finished my sentence when he said, "Yes, done. I will do it right away." So it was, some of those moments where you really get a direct response, either from a federal agency or from one of our federal delegates, is, it's powerful. It's important context. And then I would also say, with the EPA and housing and urban development. Again, those are relationships we build year after year after year on that United Front trip, and they keep playing out in terms of getting a really good hearing from those agencies, and very responsive, or at least getting clarification about where we might not get what we're really after, but which there's a lot of that goes around too. But it was a good group, and it was we had so many meetings. We were racing through 3 days, 3 really packed days of meetings, and was great to be there. And I'm really just want to give a shout out to Ethan for not only, did he have a fast-paced short session, but he also had a United Front trip to orchestrate and help guide us through, and he really did a great job in both cases. So wanted to really just appreciate your work, Ethan. And if there are no other comments, we actually amazingly are ready to adjourn early. So thank you all very much. If there are no other questions, we are adjourned.